is advised.
It is a cloudy, dark, ominous morning on Djuma, and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Byron, and on camera with me this morning is Senzo. Now, Tara is also out with Craig on the other vehicle, and then, of course, as always, the ladies in the final control, Chantel and Alice this morning. Now, it is a dark, dreary morning, quite cloudy, but we are out. We're going to see what we can find this morning. Now, don't forget, everyone, we are completely live. Send us your comments and your questions via Twitter. Hashtag Safari Live is how you do it, and we'd love to hear from you. So this morning I am going to try and find some leopards. Now, some of you watch the dam cam. You may have heard and seen some leopards on there last night. So we heard leopards mating. We tried to have a look and see if we could find them yesterday afternoon, but they walked past camp last night and we heard them mating. Now that is very exciting. I'm not sure which leopards they are, but we will try and find them. I don't know how far they would have gone. Sometimes leopards can cover quite a distance even when mating. They usually they should stay in an area, but we're not sure if they are still around. They headed in this direction. I think they went and drank down at the dam, and I think they've come down this drainage line. That's my theory. But let's have a look and see. And while we do that, let's head across to Tara. Hold on, what is through there? Oh, it's a nightjar. It's a little nightjar. Let's go across to Tara so she can say good morning to you.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome on board on slightly overcast Djuma Game Reserve here in South Africa. I am very excited. The cats have been calling. Apparently there's been some leopards on the walls. I'm sure Byron has just told you. But for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, my name's Tara, and joining me on camera this morning is Craig. And Craig definitely has an eye for the owls. I was so impressed with your spot last night of the pearl-spotted owl. So yes, he definitely lives up to reputation when it comes to spotting owls. So hopefully if there's an owl around this morning, we might even have a chance to see it before it goes to bed. So keep your fingers crossed we get some movement this morning. That'll be very nice. They were calling quite a lot last night, and even the barred owlet. So just as the light is starting to filter through, we're hoping that we may get a hyena heading to bed, maybe walking along the road. I did actually have a hyena in camp a couple of days ago that woke me up, and I think woke half the camp up and the other half was still snoozing all the way through it. But they were calling. We managed to sleep through their calls a couple of nights before. But it came to have a look in the bin, and that's what woke me up. So I popped my head outside to see if it was a badger or if it was a hyena. And it stopped. So I couldn't see what it was, and then eventually she came out from behind the bin, and it was quite a big female hyena. So I kind of said, hey! You don't want them in camp. And she kind of decided, okay, yeah, maybe I should go. I've been sprung. And as she sort of got towards the exit, I kind of shouted again just to make sure that she wasn't going to come back, and removed the bin so that she wouldn't come back, because she wouldn't have any temptation to come back. And then last night we actually saw the genet, which was really nice. Little genet came down had a look around in the camp while we were sat there chatting away. So I'm hoping maybe there might be some sign of those nocturnal animals while it's still overcast. And if it does stay overcast, it's not unusual this time of year to see those nocturnal animals out past dawn. I have seen honey badger when it's been overcast like this. Aardvark as well. We were actually just discussing about aardvark a couple of days ago. So those rarely seen creatures of the night, it would be absolutely lovely to bump into one this morning. But this is live, so we have no idea what is going to happen. So there's every chance that could happen. And that is what is absolutely magical about Safari Live. So if you have any questions for us this morning, hashtag Safari Live as well. It'd be great to hear from you wherever you are in the world. And we'll see if we can find some tracks. Oh, there was a spider's web crossing the whole. There's just, they'll often be caught by the wind so that they can actually just float across and then land. So they can attach it to one side of a tree, float across and then attach it to the other side, and the wind is going in that direction. That's obviously what happened. Unfortunately, I've just spoilt his plan, or her plan. And an impala crossing the road. So we're going to do the northern side of the property, see if the leopards maybe popped out around here. Not seen much in the way of tracks crossing the road. Sorry guys. Any more? Yeah. So I think we're going to head over and see if Byron's had any luck following up on the leopards in the south, and we'll keep you posted about the north. See you in a bit.
Well, we're trying our best, Tara. No sign just yet, and I stopped to listen. Might be our best bet at the moment is stopping every now and then and listening. Leopards, when they do mate, and when especially in the initial stages, in the early stages, it's quite regular, and they make quite a noise. So I'm trying to think of. So it's a bit early for leopard mating sound, but let's see if I can do it. They growl and they get very aggressive with each other. It sounds a little like this. Something like that. Not very good. Too early, I think, for that. Anyway, but I'm going to be stopping every now and then, listening out. Now, some of you said it looked like they headed from the dam cam. It looked like they headed back down towards Gallagher. So I'll head back up into that area and have a look, and a careful look around there. But for now, just scanning. Maybe we see an owl. Some Franklin's calling. They've just woken up. Right up until, well, not just us, the people who manage the towers actually had to go out and replace or fix something. I don't know how it all works. I thought they're just fairies that make this work, but clearly not. There's a little... Have a look here. There's a little steenbok that just moved off to my left. Let's see if... Beautiful little steenbok. I don't want to shine the spotlight on it. Male. As he darted off, he actually he startled a little scrub hare, and the scrub hare ran to the left, and luckily that... Oh, Sensor, you're out there? I do enjoy these little antelope. It's always nice when they do stand. This one's standing and posing beautifully for us. Can you hear fish eagles calling in the distance? It sounds like Chitwa Dam. We know there are fish eagles there, and it's coming from that direction. So I assume it is at Chitwa Dam. Amazing how still they are standing. Laura Moore. You say the steenbok is so adorable. It is. It's really lovely little antelope. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't a female around. They are generally monogamous. The males and females tend to stay together. And hold on a second. I hear Herbert trying to call me. Perhaps he's got an update. Good morning, M4. Go ahead. Kensilo Numzani, Kashana manje. A little bit of Shangan, I know. Herbert managed to find some elephant, just 2 elephant. He's just letting us know. Nice when Herbert's back. He does give us a hand at times. But Herbert was saying he found 2 elephants, but all the way on the other side of Djuma near Cheetah Cut Line. It's a bit far for us at the moment. I think we need to just stick to our plan for now, and see if we can't pick up on any sign of these leopards. But I'm probably going to have to head back up and around towards Gallagher Dam, Vuyatela Dam, Gowrie Dam. I don't know, it's got a lot of different names. It's the dam in front of Vuyatela Camp. I don't know why it's got so many. I've heard people call it Gowrie Dam and Vuyatela Dam, Djuma Dam. Exquisite Bliss. You also, at what age do male leopards begin to mate? I've seen young male leopards at about 4 years old. I've seen females come and show interest, and the males then try to mate. Doesn't really mean they are successful. But I'd say from about, I wouldn't be surprised if there are records of them a bit earlier mating at about 3.5. But generally, I think from about 5, 6 years old, then I think there's more chance of the leopard having a territory for itself and it being dominant enough to be able to mate with the females, rather. Trying to have a look and see if we can't see any tracks. It's very difficult in this light, especially with the cloud cover, Anyway, let's carry on. I'm going down into this drainage line. Let's go across to Tara again and see whereabouts she is and how her search is going this morning.
If you can zoom in on the seeds. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. So I'm just trying to shine up the seeds here on the tree. There we go. See if I can. There we go. So this is quite a nice tree if you're ever caught in the bush and you really fancy a cup of tea. And unfortunately, obviously, tea doesn't really grow in the bush, but this is a pretty good substitute, and I've actually tried it myself. A friend of mine actually made it. Now, I've got some seeds that I picked up in camp, so I can show you how to make it. So if I grab these here, and then it will give you an idea of the size of the seed as well. So this is from the russet bush willow, and you can see the seeds are quite small compared to my fingers. Now you do get the large fruited bush willow, and if I can hold these here, the large fruited is probably about that sort of size, so it's much larger. And then you get caterpillars like the caterpillar from the apricot playboy. It's a type of butterfly, and they'll actually emerge from inside the seed. So the egg actually gets laid inside, and then they can eat the pulp inside. So I'm struggling to find my words this morning. The pulp inside, and then they can emerge. And there's always a little hole just at the corner. So just at the corner of one of the sides, and that's where they'll actually emerge from. So these, the russet bush willow, all you do to make the tea is you take off the wings like this. And now you notice hopefully that there's actually 4 wings. If I put it on its end there's actually 4 wings, and that's very characteristic of this type of tree and the genus, the Combretum family. So you just take the wings off, and it's that, unfortunately it's a little bit windy. If I can take this all off here. So you need a few of these just to make a decent cup of tea. You don't want to be eating the pulp at all, because that doesn't taste very nice, and there's a few chemicals in there that will upset your stomach. But literally that's what you end up with. And then you add that to boiling water. And as I say, it's actually quite a nice tea. No caffeine in it, of course, but just the taste. It is actually quite nice. So if you know where to look in the bush, you literally have a general store here, but you have to know where to look. And even ladies, there's perfumes here that you can use. Unfortunately, I haven't seen lavender trees around here, but they do occur in the Greater Kruger National Park, and you can actually use the leaves and dab them on your skin or wipe them on your skin, and you get the smell of lavender. So if I do see one, I'll point it out to you. But yes, it's been used by some ladies in different cultures when they have been living in the bush to make themselves smell pretty. And especially the lavender tree, it's also thought to bring sweet dreams if you put a couple of leaves underneath the pillow. So let's carry on. It's starting to get a little bit lighter. We have looked around for any tracks this morning of the leopard maybe popping out the back there. I haven't seen anything. I might have overlooked something because it was a little bit dark. It's still not great light for tracking, but we'll do our best, because you never know, they might have come up this way. I know there was the 2 seen around by the dam, but I'm not sure which direction they headed off in. But we'll carry on down, and then I think we'll take Central to the east side and see if we can maybe find anything towards Buffles Hook Dam maybe, and then we might cut back and see if there's any action around the hyena den. So that's kind of the plan, unless things change, as they do in the bush. As I say, it is live, we have no idea, and things can change just like that. So let's see how Byron's getting on.
No, sorry, I've just stopped to listen a little bit. And as I mentioned, it's going to be my plan this morning. I'm going to drive into areas, stop and listen for a while, because chances of us hearing the leopards probably a bit easier and a bit better than trying to find tracks for now, this time of the morning. As I said, with it being dark and overcast like this, it's a bit difficult to find tracks. We'll see the tracks clearly. You can see it's actually starting to open up a little bit. Maybe once the sun pops up, it could burn the rest of these clouds off. Now, Tara mentioned the russet bush willow and making tea from the leaves. I wonder if Tara's ever tried it. It's terrible. I remember when we were training, we tried to make tea from it. We got some hot water and we boiled those seed pods in the hot water of the russet bush willow, and we tried to drink it. Oh, it's not good. Not good at all. Not really tasty. I prefer just regular or normal tea, English breakfast tea or Earl Grey. We've got some lovely tea. Five Roses is a nice South African tea. We should actually ask Batman, because Craig is a tea connoisseur. That's all he drinks really, is tea. Well, most of the time. So we can ask Craig what his favourite tea is. Perhaps Tara will let us know. She can let us know if she's ever tried the russet bush willow tea, and what Craig's favourite tea is. Maybe he's got a different bush recipe for us. Who knows? Who knows what he gets up to at night? I'm just trying to see if I can get a few more minutes with the spotlight, but I think it's now too light, because it's a bit easier to spot anything with the spotlight. The reflection of the eyes shows up quite nicely, so it's a bit easier. I must be honest, I would be very, very excited if we did find these two leopards that were mating. But often what happens is with leopards, when they mate, the female's the one that instigates the mating, and she follows the male. So the male will move around and still kind of patrol his territory a little bit, and the female just follows him. So depending on the male and where he's moving and how far he's moving will depend on where they are. So usually the leopards, when they are mating, they won't cover a huge distance. They'll stay within a certain area. So I'm not sure though. I'm hoping these leopards stay in the area and we find them later. Chitty Meg, good morning. You asked what age can a female have her first litter? Meg, I'm trying to think now. I've seen young leopards at about 2.5 mate, but I think first litter maybe 3.5 years old, I think, for a young female leopard. That's what I have seen. I mean, again, there might be records of a bit earlier than that, but I think from about 3.5 years old, I've seen females mate and give birth to cubs. So Riti, there's a little dacre quickly off. The little dacre, those little antelope, very shy. They move through the bush quite quickly. It stood for a second and ran off. Riti, if these leopards that are mating now, if they are successful, and that means that the female does fall pregnant, it's about 90 days. The gestation period for a leopard is about 90 days. So 3 months, she'll give birth. She'll find a a den site, so either a rocky area, very thick drainage line somewhere well hidden, well covered and safe for those cubs. Give birth to the cubs, and then maybe a month to a month and a half. Well, it depends. If we are fortunate and we find the female when she's off moving around, and we follow her back to the den so we know where it is, if we spend time there, often what happens is, so I'm just thinking back to when I guided in this area permanently, we would find or follow the female back to the den, get an idea where the den is, and if we found it, we'll probably zone that area for a while, and one vehicle would maybe go and check every day if the female is there. Would go and check to see if there's any sign of the cubs. It may take up to about a month and a half before you see any movement of the cubs around the den and that. So, and then if you're sensitive, you can probably sit quite a distance away from the den, wait for the female to go to the den site, and then hopefully have a look at the cubs. Again, it's important that you only do it when the female is there, so that you don't startle or scare the cubs. You don't want that. So it's also part of the habituation process, so that those young leopards get used to the vehicle. Obviously, you don't want them completely comfortable with the vehicle. They're still wild animals, but they will then become relaxed, and you should hopefully have wonderful leopard sightings later on, like we have in these areas. And a lot of it takes time and effort to sit with those youngsters. But I would say in about a month and a half, you'll probably get to see some activity around the den. The cubs coming out, playing with the mother, and being quite inquisitive and curious and scanning their surroundings, and then you should have lovely views of them. So if they're successful, maybe 4 months time, and these leopards, if they're successful with their mating, 4.5 months time, who knows? Wouldn't that be wonderful? So just in time for summer. Possibly. Alright, well, I can hear a grey-headed bushwright calling in the distance. That wonderful sound. But Tara seems to have plant matter that she'd like to show you. I wonder if she's going to make some tea out of it.
So, don't listen to Byron, okay? All I've seen him drink in camp is coffee. I am British, I know my tea. Well, I quite enjoyed it anyway. So, as I was saying, if you know where to look, you've got a general store around you. So, this tree behind me, if I head over, this is where I've got this branch from. So, over here, and actually, oh no. So, this is actually a magic guari. The best one for this is actually a blue guari, because it does actually have antibacterial properties about it. This one I've got to find out if it has the same. I would have thought so. It's the same genus. The blue guari actually has larger leaves, so you're looking sort of this sort of size, maybe that sort of width, and they're a lot more waxy than the magic guari. But hopefully you can see the magic guari is quite wavy. So it's got this nice undulating form around its leaf. But what I'm going to be showing you is how to make a toothbrush. So obviously dental hygiene in the bush is of the utmost importance. And as I say, if you're not able to go and buy yourself a toothbrush and you're living in the bush, then this is the next best thing. So if I can show you the edge there, hopefully you can see it's quite a lot of tightly compact fibre. And that's very characteristic of this type of bush, so the magic guari. And all I'm going to do is take the bark off. You can see I've already started doing part of it for you. So take the bark off so that stops restricting the fibres. And then we're just going to be splitting the fibres apart. So hopefully you can see by doing that, I've actually started splaying the edge. And that can then be used, especially if you do it nicely. I've done it a bit rushed and a bit rough, but you can actually make yourself a really nice flexible toothbrush that you can then use to clean your teeth. Now, I'm not going to do it properly because I haven't actually cleaned my knife just yet, so yeah, I need to disinfect it properly because I've been playing around in the bush with it, so yes, but that's how you do it. You can also find some toothpaste. I believe there is some lead wood around here. It's the old man of the bush, and you can take some of the wood. Back in the day you could actually burn it and it made brilliant coals because it's a really hard wood and it burns for a very, very long time. But then you take the ash in the morning, so perfect timing, you mix it around maybe with a little bit of water or milk, and that can make a toothpaste as well. So as I say, if you know where to look, you can take care of yourself in the bush. So there we go, Magic Wari toothbrush. So I'm just going to plug myself in, there we go. And it looks like there is a vehicle heading towards us, so I'm going to just back up a little bit. But I've also got, aha, a vehicle. It is actually Byron. I do have a who done it for you as well. So actually, before Byron gets to us, hi Snazzy, and yes, the stem would be safe to chew on if you're in survival mode. It's just because I am, as I say, I've got probably nasty things on my knife. I forgot to actually wash it last night. But yes, usually you would actually bite it and chew it, and you can really soften the fibres up there. Hello! Are you dissing my tea?
Never. Good morning. Hello, Batman. Hello. Hi, everyone. So, have you seen leopards anywhere?
No.
Alright.
I haven't seen any tracks, but I could have missed some because it was still quite dark that side.
I'm going to listen. That's it. I can't see any tracks.
Yeah, I've been stopping every so often along as well, but sadly not.
Well, how's about all of you jump on with me? Come and join me for a little bit, and let's see what's this side.
I've got a who dung it.
Oh, you got a who dung it.
I can do a who dung it, and then they can jump on with me.
Alright.
Get the old brain matter going this morning.
Sounds like everyone's with me already. Oh.
Okay.
Oh, Chantal's playing games. Look at that. Oh no. Oh no. Let me see if I can. I'll just have a look. What dung have you got? Or is it a... Oh, it's a surprise. Bye Tara. Bye Batman. Good luck. Alright, well, so Tara has also looked around this area. That's not a good sign for us. I wonder. I wonder if these leopards didn't just head back in a westerly direction. Exquisite Bliss, you asked how is the leopard mating process different from lions? Well, it's actually quite similar. It's quite similar, Exquisite Bliss. However, there are a few differences. So I'm just trying to have a good look here while I drive, but it's, like I say, difficult. So what happens is with the leopards, as you know, the difference between lions and leopards is the males with lions, the males go into the pride and they'll check which female's on estrus and then they'll try and mate with them. With the leopards, when the female comes into estrus, she will go and look for the male. So she is the one that instigates the mating. She will sometimes go out of her territory just to look for a dominant male leopard. She will go present herself and depending on if he's interested or not, they usually are, they will then mate for three days to a week. Generally, that's the length of time that leopards mate for. Now, the actual mating itself is very similar. Like I said, it's kind of similar, but okay. So with lions, the lioness, if she gets up or moves around, the male will come up behind her and try and mate with her. With leopards, they'll often lie down, and the female will get up and come, and she walks in front of the male, and she growls, and she'll present herself in front of the male, and the male will then mate with her. But it is quite an aggressive affair. Obviously the males, it does hurt the females a little bit. Now we've gone into it and we've spoken about it before with the cats, the big cats especially, having a slightly barbed penis, and that does hurt the females. But it is the theory is that it basically initiates the ovulating process and helps with the mating. So hopefully that the mating. Well, that mating session will then be successful. But when the male does jump off the female, he does hurt her a little bit. So she'll often turn, and she turns and she'll swipe, and the male jumps off. It's quite a wonderful a wonderful show to watch. It is interesting, very interesting, and a wonderful display. But it can get quite aggressive. So in terms of that, lions, it's not as aggressive, I feel. Or from what I've seen, it's not as aggressive, but it's very similar, very similar. Chastity, you asked if male leopards take over new territory. Will they hunt down the cubs or cubs in the area that do not belong to them? No, it's not necessarily actively hunting them down. However, if they bump into cubs that do not belong to them, then the chances are, depending on how old the cubs are, if they sub-adults already, chances are they won't pick up any issues. If it's a young male, he'll probably just get chased out by the new male. But if they are really young cubs, I'm talking about between a few weeks and 2 months, 2 or 3 months, chances are the new male will possibly kill them, because what he's wanting to do is force that female to come into estrus a lot quicker, but also it's competition for him. He doesn't want another male's cubs in the area. But they don't actually actively go and hunt them down. It's just if they bump into them or find them. I think I'm going to sit around here for a while and see if we can hear those leopards. Alright, now it sounds like Tara's got a bird, so let's go have a look at it before it flies away.
Almost in shot. We had them right out in the open. But these are green wood hoopoes. I think it would be a little bit fair to ask you to try and ID them. But, there we go. So hopefully you can see that bright red bill. They also have quite a long tail as well. But you'll notice hopefully 2 or 3 heads bobbing around in the bush there. Hopefully there's a few ants. And it looks like that bush has got a feast on board, so all of them flew over to that one. There we go, there's a couple of other birds bobbing around on the ground there. So they look like red buffalo weavers. Also got bright red bill, but you can see the tail's not as long and they're black. Whereas the green wood hoopoo, if the sun was up, you'd be able to see it has this metallic green colour. But they were actually displaying a little bit before, so they're quite noisy birds. There we go. So hopefully you saw the white wing bars just crossing the as the bird just flew across the screen there, with the long tail trailing behind. So the green wood hoopoes are a family orientated bird, and right at the tip of their bill it's really sensitive. So where we saw them was actually the dead tree just in front of that little bush, and they'll actually probe the dead tree for any insects that are buried just beneath the surface, because that bill tip's very sensitive. There's a lot of what we call mechanical receptor cells, so they just feel any change from the tapping from the insects and things like that, so they can actually just pick up the slightest movement and they can then sense it and obviously bury their long bill. Hopefully you saw it was actually quite a long bill like that, so about that sort of length on quite a small bird really, so that helps them to find those insects. So while I've still got you, I've got a couple of things for you. So we've got a whodunit as promised. So there you go. So this is the first one of the morning. So what animal produced that? If you'd like to get involved, hashtag Safari Live. What animal do you think produced that? And again, I am being a little bit mean because obviously I'm not showing you where we got it from. But if I break it open for you, now if you have been on board the last couple of days, then we have had a look at some of the larger animals. So hopefully you're seeing the size relative to my fingers there. But hopefully you can see the material inside is very fine. You know, we're not seeing any big pieces of matter. I was almost going to give the game away there, but yeah, that seems to be the biggest piece there. So yeah, so have a think, and if you know, so hashtag Safari Live, what animal has actually dropped that. And while you're thinking about that, I've also picked up this, and the reason why I'm spending a bit of time, as Byron says, was just stopping and listening to see if there's any sound of those leopards. But I think we're going to be heading off down towards Central to see if they haven't gone that way instead. But while we're here, this is from the weeping wattle. I would normally have taken 3, but I don't want to take all the leaves from the tree unnecessarily. Now this can be used as toilet paper, but I think this is the 1-ply. I'll keep my lookout for the 4-ply bush, but as I say, if you're really caught short, this is the one to go for, but you have to be careful that you don't go for the common hookthorn, which can look very similar, but on the back it has rows of hooks all the way up that do that, all the way up, just along the back of the leaf there. And believe me, you do not want to be using that. You can imagine why. So this is also quite an interesting tree for a couple of different cultures in South Africa. And some of you might remember Patrick. He used to guide for Wild Earth a while back now. And I was actually telling this story because I used to guide in the Waterberg where the Sepedi people are, and this tree is very important for them to produce a good look, travel look charm. And they would get 3 leaves, then they would tie them together like this, and then they would take that in the pocket or on their vehicle, so that would actually keep them safe while they're travelling. Now, when I was saying this story, Patrick said, oh, that's really interesting, because Patrick's Shongaan. So Shongaan are kind of found more in this area. And he said, we use the same tree, but we actually use a small branch instead, which I found really interesting. So the same tree, but slightly different part of it to keep them safe. So yeah, the weeping wattle. Cool. So let's continue. I'm not hearing anything else. No alarm calls or anything like that. And apparently we do have some answers to the whodunit. Izzy with bushbuck. Getting there. Unfortunately, Izzy, there wasn't any leaves involved there, so you would still see some fragment of leaf. So, but in the right area is a herbivore. So well done, Izzy, and great guess there. A little bit too big for a bushbuck as well. kudu. Oh, red-billed hornbill. Oh, he was just chilling on the bush there. There he goes. So, red-billed hornbill was a little bit elusive for us yesterday. Also looking for ants possibly on the ground. So red-billed hornbill. So Anna Marie, and I missed who else, was saying kudu. Oh, here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. Doo, doo, doo. Yeah, sorry, I won't crack your TV screen. Oh, it's always so much better with the sun in the world, isn't it? Look at that. Ooh. I don't know if you heard, there was snorting going on just to the right. But unfortunately, it lures you into a false sense of security when you think, oh yes, alarm call, there could be a leopard. Unfortunately, with the impala this time of year, they're gearing up for that small, quick rut coming up, and unfortunately that was the call for the territorial ram from the impala, doing that. I can actually see him just peeking through the bush right off in the distance there. So when the impala are given an alarm call, they can they can give that first part, that snorting, but then you get quite a lot of them snorting through their nose to say, yes, I've seen what you're seeing. So I'll keep an ear out though, but that's why you listen for any help to locate the predators as well. Obviously you read the bush newspaper, so now that the sun's starting to rise, it's going to be a little bit easier to see what's been left behind. And you use your sense of smell as well. So leopards actually smell like popcorn, believe it or not. Genets do as well, but leopard especially. So if we can smell popcorn in the bush, then we know that the leopard is fairly close by. So yes, unfortunately it's not kudu. It's about the right size, but kudu don't tend to clump together like this. So this is very characteristic of this particular animal, clumping together. So hopefully we'll have a few more guesses. Chapman sparkle, waterbuck. Could be that it's not quite this time. So waterbuck, it can clump as well. Warthog. Now warthog are quite interesting because they actually are much larger than what you'd probably give warthog credit for. It looks very similar to that of a horse, believe it or not, just a smaller version of horse dung. So kind of a kidney shaped, looking about this sort of size for warthog. But at least you're all going for the herbivores, which is good. C. Smith and Liz say zebra. Again, zebra, if you can think of what a domestic horse looks like, that's what the zebra look like. So that, again, that sort of size, a kidney shaped. Angie says a giraffe. Unfortunately not Angie. Again, the right sort of size for the pellet, but the giraffe, because it drops like 2 meters, it tends to get spread out all over the show. So you don't tend to get the clumping unless they've got a bit of a problem. Occasionally you might get clumping, but then, as I say, they might have an upset stomach. Getting everything but. White Lady Alan saying Nyala. Again, slightly smaller for the Nyala. Hello, lady. Ginger saying Steenbok. A little bit too big for Steenbok. Debbie, also a little bit big for Impala. So I think there's only one animal left. The herbivores that could be found here. Now, have you ever noticed how well groomed Impala look? Now, Impala actually have the ability, or that their front teeth, their incisors, are slightly loose in the bottom of their jaw, that it spreads apart so it acts like a comb. So when they groom each other or themselves, they actually are able to comb their fur. And that's why they always look so neat and pristine, because they can just get rid of that fur that might be a little bit dead or coming out. I was going to say, I wonder where the rest of the herd is, but there's a male just behind and he's actually marking a bush. Ah, who was that? Roshi and Ruth, well done. You get complete bragging rights this morning. It is in fact a wildebeest. So the wildebeest do tend to clump together, especially this time of year. Because there's actually not as much moisture to clump the dung together. They're going to need a lot of that moisture, and they're going to be using that. So to still find clumped dung this time of year, then generally speaking it is going to be wildebeest, because as I say, there's not a lot of moisture around. It's very characteristic of the wildebeest. And say, very fine matter inside, very fine pieces of grass. So wildebeest are grazers, they eat the grass, so we're not seeing any fragments of leaves in there at all. And it is so small. If you're thinking, yeah, but a wildebeest, you know, if you think about the same size, I'm just trying to think what would be the same size that you can relate it to. But wildebeest, so we just saw the impala there, so let me see if I can actually give you a size comparison. So for the impala, impala would come up to, pull that down, so the impala would come up headwise to about here, wildebeest probably about here, so the back something like that, whereas the impala are about that sort of height, something like that. So just try and give you a bit of a size comparison. So let's say wildebeest back, maybe a small pony, would that would be about right, something like that. So yeah, so the fact that the dung is so small, it's because they have a four-chambered stomach, so they can get as much goodness out of what they eat as possible. So they're really effective at taking all that goodness out of their food. Whereas things like rhinos and elephants, which are called hindgut fermenters, they're really not good at doing that at all. So they actually waste a lot of what they eat. And that means that they produce huge dung. So the four-chambered stomach animals produce very small dung to their body size because they are so efficient. And that really helps them. So they don't have to take in as much food. So whatever they take in, they can just get or they can use as much of it as possible. Whereas with the rhinos and the elephants and the other hindgut fermenters, they have to eat lots of food. But the plus side for them is they don't have to have high quality, whereas the 4-chambered stomach animals have to have good quality food. So it's this trade-off all the time, and that means all those animals that you see, the antelope, they don't actually have to compete for the same food. So they go for either different parts of the plant, different types of plant, so that they can all actually be here and they're not competing. So if you ever actually wondered, why do the animals not fight over the food, it's because of that. So let's carry on. We're going to head along Central and see if these leopards have actually moved further afield, or if we can catch up with anything else that might be towards Buffelshoek Dam. Oh, Byron's luck is wearing out on the cats as well, unfortunately. But who knows, he may still be able to bump into them. Fingers crossed for you guys. But let's see what Byron's got for you. Let's see you in a bit.
Well, I hope so, Tara. I hope my luck returns, because we haven't had any luck. I thought I saw tracks of a male leopard basically on the northern boundary. But yeah, it was not very fresh, but I'm still driving around trying to listen and look out for any sign of these leopards. I'm not going to give up just yet. The temperature's actually dropped a little bit from earlier this morning. The clouds have disappeared. It's opened up quite nicely. And that's also probably why it's a bit colder now. But we'll see. We're still going to drive around and look very carefully. Oh, Ricard, you asked what is the oldest cat on the reserve? I don't know now. I wonder. Maybe some of you can let us know. I think the oldest one that I know of, I think is Mvula. I think Mvula is about 12 years old. That's a male leopard, 12-year-old male leopard. Out of the lions and leopards in the area that I know, that is the oldest one I know. But I don't know about some of the other leopards in the area. Maybe some of you back home can let me know. There's just a vehicle that's about to pass with guests. Let me see if how am I going to find a little gap here? Hold on a second. Let me just drive past and greet everybody. Morning, how's it going? Good, thanks. No, not yet. We'll let you know. Good luck. Bye-bye, thank you. So, just seeing some other guests on the vehicle out there all bundled up. It is quite chilly this morning. I'm trying to think what other the oldest some of the oldest cats I've seen. There was a female leopard on Londolozi. I'm trying to think now. What was her name? Sure, I've been a blank. See what happens. You get some of these names, it'll come to me now. There was a very well-known leopard known as 3-4 because of a spot pattern. She had a 3-4 spot pattern and was just a very well-known leopard. She lived to about 17 years old, which is really old for a leopard. That's a good age. There was another leopard that lived up to, I think it was 18 years old. What was her name? Wow, someone said there's a leopard, a safari leopard. I'm not sure, where was she? Apparently she lived up until 19. That's amazing. That's incredible. Now I don't know where that leopard. Oh, so it's Karula's mother. Apparently she lived up until the age of 19. That's very impressive. Wow, that's amazing. That's very old for a leopard. Now, the oldest leopard I ever saw was, I think, 18 years old. But what was her name? Oh, I can't remember now. It'll come to me. I'll think carefully. Michael, you say the oldest male leopard in the area is Mvula, and then the oldest females would be Tandi and sorry, who was the other one? Chantal? Tandi and? Sorry, I didn't hear that. But yeah, so Tandi, and Tandi, how old is Tandi now? Isn't she about 7 or 8? I think I heard someone say. I'm not sure. Sorry, Tandi's 11. Yeah, so it's a good age. So there's Mvula, still the oldest, I think, 12 years old. Now, I wonder. I'm just stopping to listen again. I wonder, these leopards. It's funny. I mean, they were quite far west yesterday morning, and then during the afternoon, they obviously just turned and came through this way, hiding through the drainage lines, and then headed down to the dam late last night, 11 or 12 o'clock, which is in that direction. And then it looks like, I mean, by the sounds of things, they came back this way. You never know; they could still be in one of these drainages close by. Well, don't forget, everyone, questions and comments, please send it to us. Hashtag Safari Live via Twitter is how you do it. We love hearing from all our viewers. It's actually a beautiful morning. Look at these clouds coming over again. Mike, yes, the general rule is that female cat species, or the female of the cat species, they do live longer than the males. So with lions, now these are average ages. With lions, average age for a female is about, call it 15 years old. And then with leopards, average age is about 15 to 17. So lions, it's about 14 to 15, and then leopards about lions. Alright, well, we're going to continue our search. Let's head across to Tara and see what she's managed to find now.
A beautiful male kudu, and that sun is just spotlighting his magnificence. How majestic is he? Absolutely stunning. And once again, amazing how well they camouflage in the bush. Can barely make him out. Legs looking like the bushes. Definitely white lady, absolutely gorgeous kudu. Yeah, legs looking like the trunks of the bushes surrounding him. The horns, the branches. And you can see absolutely motionless. And Rain Ranko, he does look so tall. He is actually quite a large antelope. The back is about the same height as a wildebeest, but certainly the head is held much higher. Now he's going into a drainage line, but he's very wary. There's a few birds calling just to my left, and I think he's just checking to make sure that it's not alarm calls or anything. It's not sounding like an alarm call to me. But obviously he is by himself, so he has to make even more certain that there's nothing going to come out and grab him before he actually takes a meal. Because if he judges it wrong and there is something there and he's distracted by eating, that could be the split-second delay that could cost him his life. And there he goes. Hi Charlie, good morning to you. How heavy are the kudu? I used to know, but I'm struggling to remember now. Maybe someone can actually check up for us how heavy those horns can actually get. It's one of those, unfortunately I don't hold on to numbers very easily. So if someone could check up for us, that would be absolutely fantastic, because I can't quite remember. So hashtag Safari Live if you can come back with an answer for us. And there's a leadwood. I was just talking about leadwoods earlier, and the fact that they can actually produce toothpaste. What does worry me though is, like I was saying earlier, you can use the ash as a toothpaste. You can also use the ash for a whitewash as well. So it does worry me that you can use it like a paint. But as I say, if you are really desperate in the bush, then that's what you need to use. Now the leadwood as well is a very hard wood. It's a very dense wood. And it is actually protected now, I believe, so you're not actually supposed to use leadwood for firewood anymore. But he is known as the old man of the bush. And unfortunately it's probably a little bit too high to see, but the branches that come off, the smaller branches, they actually crisscross, and you can actually use these, or they would have been used in old days as a fish hook, because they're very strong and they point sort of away from the branch. So then you can rope from I think it was old lady's tongue, mother-in-law's tongue, that was it, mother-in-law's tongue. So it makes quite a strong fibre, so you make yourself some rope from that and then use the branch from a leadwood, and away you go, you can go fishing in the bush. Quite a young leadwood, that one. Quite a small trunk, it's probably about that sort of size. So they have seen some elephants towards Mamba Road and Drakensberg Junction, so we're making our way down towards them, see if we can catch up with them before they head off into the bush. It sounds like they're moving at quite a small pace. The trouble is I keep getting sidetracked by other things, but there's no way you can drive past a kudu like that, absolutely no way. He is magnificent. And it's always nice to show you when we've been talking about different trees or animals or birds, if we haven't been able to see them, but then to be able to show you, it's always nice just to show you, to finish off the story. I like to do that. So I think we're going to carry on heading down towards where the elephants have been seen, and we're going to head back to Byron and see if he's found anything interesting for you as well.
Well, that's great. I hope Tara gets to see those elephants and show them to you. That's very exciting. Now, I've decided I'm going to head back, all the way back up towards Sandy Patch, and that's basically directly west of where I am. So I'm going to head in that direction. A friend of mine that used to work at Djuma always used to say that he used to love that area. It was his best area for finding leopards. So let's see if he's right. So I'm going to go around there, sit and listen and be patient, and maybe we find signs of these leopards. Simon, you know, I don't think the time of year really affects how easy it is to find leopards. I think both the summer and winter can be difficult. It's probably a bit easier in winter, I would say, Simon. Probably a bit easier. Their camouflage suits the winter conditions, though. I mean, the grass and that, it's perfect to hide in the grass. It's nice and open, and maybe it's a bit easier to spot them moving through the area. Also, they'd most likely have to go to specific water holes because there isn't a lot of water around. But summer I'd say is a slightly harder because the bush is much thicker and there's water everywhere for these animals. So, Simon, I would say it's a bit easier in winter. You wouldn't say so because we haven't had any luck this morning, but I would say it's probably a bit easier in winter, slightly. Jake, a leopard sawing or leopard call is quite loud. I would say you can probably hear it from about, on a clear day, maybe 2-3 kilometers away from a big male, possibly. It does depend, but I would guess about that. Look, it's not like a male lion call that can be heard sometimes from about 10 kilometers away on clear days. So they are loud, but not nearly as loud as obviously lions. But yeah, I would say we've heard leopard calls from about 2 kilometers away before. Mason, you asked if leopards are at risk at being endangered. Mason, no. Look, there are leopards everywhere. They adapt very well to certain areas. Very elusive cats, and the leopard population, especially in southern Africa, is very, very good and very healthy at the moment. But you know, we need to still focus on conservation, protecting areas, protecting the animals, and but the leopard population is very, very good. However, if we don't protect the animals, like anything, they could potentially face a threat. Chitty Chatty Meg, you asked how many leopards are there in South Africa compared to cheetah? Yes. I have no idea. Meg. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers, and I don't know how accurate they would be. There's by far more leopards. But I don't know what the exact number would be. I couldn't even guess. But there are hundreds of leopards. Cheetah are rare. Cheetah are endangered. There are very, very few cheetah. So that's easy. I don't know what the number is of cheetah in Kruger at the moment, in the greater Kruger area, but I wouldn't say it's a lot at all. It's always difficult with the numbers because you know, how accurate are they? I mean, they can kind of have an idea in an area, but a place like Kruger that is so big, it's very difficult to be accurate. Might be a bit easier with prides of lions because the lion prides are very territorial, and generally the guides or the researchers in those areas, they know more or less how many lions in the prides. However, saying that, I did a walk in Kruger a few years ago, and I'd never walked in that area before, but I led a walk, and we had a guy that come with that knew the area well, just to kind of give me an idea of, you know, what is where the drainage lines are, where the water holes are, that type of thing. But we walked into an area and there was a beautiful rocky outcrop, and I thought, let's go and have a look there. And as we approached this outcrop, the three little lion cubs came running out and came running towards us. I obviously got a big fright because I thought, well, where's the mother? You do not want to get close to lion cubs, especially near a den. So I think she was using that as a den site. She'd hidden the cubs there. But Kruger Park is so big, no one knew they were there. No one knew that that lioness had cubs, firstly, and where they were. So that was a really great surprise. But it just shows you that it's easy to miss maybe a few lions here or there, or especially cheetah or leopards. Now let's stop here for a second and try and listen again. Alright, well, let's head back across to the tea-making Tara and find out if she's found more trees and grasses or if she's found some animals to show you.
I have actually. I picked this up along the way. So we're close to where we found the elephants. So I'll tell you a little bit more about this, but it was actually Craig that inspired me to pick this up. Going on about, obviously we have the general store. If you have a toothache, this is really good. Now, I did ask Craig if he's actually tried it before, and he almost made the mistake of saying no, because I was going to see if you want to try it on camera. But yeah, so if you've got a toothache, if you take a leaf from the silver cluster leaf, and hopefully if we get a bit of sun, otherwise I might use a spotlight when we stop to show you why it's a silver cluster leaf, because it's actually got the silver hairs and you can actually see it, but I'll need some sunlight, or as I say, some spotlight to help me with that so you can see it. But if you chew it, it's got a very high amount of tannins in the leaf, so it dries your mouth out, but it also helps to numb your mouth. So if you do have a toothache, it's a very good one to use. So apparently the elephants were last seen at the junction with Drakensberg, so we're almost there. So as I say, if we stop, I'll try and show that to you as well. So see if we can find ourselves. So I think we're going to try taking this little road here, and that should, I believe, be Leadwood, but it is a little bit etchy exactly which road it is, but we'll try it anyway because he said that they crossed over here, and I'm seeing the tracks just there as well, crossing over there, so it would be about right. Yeah, all tracks around here. He said it was a fairly big herd, so it'd be nice to see them. But believe it or not, elephants, the size of them, you'd expect that they make a lot of noise. And when they're upset, or when they are actually meaning to make noise, then they will create quite a lot of noise. They can be heard trumpeting, oh, there they are, up to 10 kilometers away. But otherwise, moving through the bush, they are silent, and it's all to do with their foot. So the foot is packed full of tissue, and it molds around rocks and branches and things like that. That's if they do walk over them, but quite often they avoid them. But because their foot molds, it actually allows them to walk very, very softly. And they are like the ghosts of the bush. So I'm going to see if we can actually get in front of the herd here, and see if we can work out where they're going to be walking, so we can get in front and hopefully have them walk in front of us. So I'm going to go around. There's a nice open area here. It looks like they're heading towards. Oh, Byron's got his binoculars out. That sounds exciting. So while we try and position ourselves, let's see what he's got.
Now, it's wishful thinking, I think. But I can hear Franklin alarm calling in the grass, or to the back behind those impala. But there's a herd of impala straight ahead of me. Perhaps Franklin are just having a little argument between each other. Well, Franklins aren't always the most reliable when it comes to alarm calls. And these impala seem completely relaxed. Just worth a look. It's amazing. I mean, I really would have thought we would have some sign of these leopards, but I'm not going to give up. I'm still going to drive around and see. It sounds like Tara has managed to find those beautiful grey animals that I love so much.
Oh, I have indeed. Finally caught up with them. So we've got, it does look like the group's spread out quite a lot. So we have a youngster here chewing on what looks to be an umbrella thorn. Nope, being chivied up by mother. Hopefully you could kind of hear where those feet were being placed, and it might have been a little bit too far away to hear all you could hear was the crunch. But again, it was very, very soft, but otherwise you couldn't really hear her moving through the bush. So the herd is dotted all over, and as I say, they're slowly moving sort of that way, but we've got a couple in front of us, there's a few just behind us here, so I'm just going to slightly reposition again so that we're out in the open, because she was actually just stood in front of this tree here, so I didn't want to get too close to her and upset her. If we can actually pull forward, I think the rest of the herd are over there, so if we follow where they went, and we'll try and see if we can pull in around in front of them again. So I was hoping those that are over there behind the thick bush were going to come out this side. But they're all spaced out, they're all really relaxed, they're feeding and they're just taking their time. But as I said before, they don't need to have highly nutritious food. They can have very poor quality food, and this time of year it's quite normal to see them digging roots up from the trees. Oh, and we've got a battalier overhead as well. Circling to see if there's anything worth diving down to investigate. You can see the rain clouds forming. Quite unusual for this time of year. It is very, very normal. I mean, you can see it's quite dry, and that is very normal for this time of year. In winter, it doesn't tend to rain, so that's why it's quite unusual to have these clouds forming this time of year. And it is still quite mild. This is what's really amazing me. So it's usually a lot colder during the day, or during the night at least, and first thing in the morning. So I can see that the rest, they are kind of heading in that direction. So again, oh, here we go. I was going to say, I wonder where that little family popped out. Just here on the right. But I think, oh, okay. I was just about to say, let's see what Byron might have, but with them coming out, I think we're going to stick with this little family group here. So the hi, Riti, and I'm wondering if you actually heard the elephant breaking the tree just behind. So again, just it looked like she was trying to push it over, but maybe she's deciding actually she's just going to go for some of the branches instead. Yeah. And what they'll do is they'll quite often take a branch and they'll eat the bark. They'll strip the bark off the branch. So they'll sometimes, that looks like quite a small branch compared to what they would normally pick up. And they'll actually just walk with it almost like a chewing sweet. And they'll twist it around in the mouth and just peel off the bark. Oh yeah, she is going for it then. But Riti wanting to know, I'm hearing someone else bashing the way through the bush there. If a baby elephant is left by itself, could a predator attack it and kill it? And Riti, yes it could, but that's why baby elephants are never left on their own. And that is one of the reasons why the elephants do have family groups, so that everyone can actually look after the baby. So when the baby is extremely small, everyone is very, very protective of that baby. So sisters and aunts, and they just make sure that that baby can try and make it through to adulthood. What was really interesting is they actually did an experiment up in Chobe. They had a pride of lions that would call. Now in Chobe, the lions there, they actually have prides up to about 30 strong, and they've learnt to hunt elephant. And the elephants, if they've actually had the experience of being hunted, they found, oh, there's an elephant that's sneaking up behind us here. I told you, they are so quiet. He's just behind the bush. Gonna pop out. Hello. Oh, and here comes Mum. Hello, lady. How special is this? I'm keeping quiet so you can actually hear how quiet they are. I say, they really did sneak up on us. I thought they were going around the back, but decided to go around the front. Absolutely beautiful. So we're going to try and see if we can catch up with them again. I think that's everybody. So yeah, as I said, they actually had the call of the lions playing, and they found that the females who had been attacked by lions in the past, they would immediately surround the calves into a little circle with the ladies. Oh, I just heard the grumbling then. So with all the ladies looking out, making sure they could detect where the threat might come from. And the elephants that hadn't had that experience didn't react in the same way. They would still keep close to the youngsters, but they didn't surround them like the other females did. Really interesting. Really interesting. So that deep rumble is coming from the female on the right of your screen now. And quite often that deep grumble is, come on everybody, let's get moving. But you can see there the moving using the foot to dig up the root or to try and dig up the plant. Now that plant is not looking particularly appealing to me, but it does look like it could be. Actually, let's have a smell of it. No, it's not what I thought it was actually. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if I can smell it, because only the Latin names spring into mind. It reminds me of Olympia javanica. I'll try and remember the original name, or the common name. But I thought that's what it might be, but it's not looking quite right, and it's not smelling quite right, so it's not. But